I guess this alert text the exact same. Do I want that to say, your local weather expert and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, this is what Tom had me like highlight from the previous page.
Yeah, it's like local weather expert for Franklin and the latest on, like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then send. Okay. And good evening. I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin. Just highlighting some what seem to be surprising thunderstorms across the area. If you were watching our earlier newscast, we had talked about the models indicating certainly some late evening rain, but boy, these really intensified. Now, thankfully, at least across our viewing area, nothing severe. Some heavy thunderstorms had developed over the metro area, really across downtown. About an hour or so ago, and a lot of lightning as these storms are continuing to actually develop and build as they move towards Jean Lafitte and farther south. So they are moving, at least at the moment, away from the city, but certainly some very heavy rainfall and very frequent lightning associated. About 6:30 or so, we began to see these storms develop over Metro New Orleans. And associated with it, some very heavy rainfall and very frequent lightning. And notice these storms are not weakening by any means. In fact, they are intensifying as they push now more south of Estelle to Belché. Still some moderate rain, and then down toward the Jean Lafitte area. Kind of widening out, looks like a little thunderstorm as well around Des Allemands. At least the heavier thunderstorms we had seen around La Place are beginning to weaken as well. But notice we may not be done with that rainfall even as these storms push down to the south. There are some additional heavy storms, especially south of the Mississippi Sound, approaching the Biloxi Marsh of St. Bernard. A lot of lightning. Now, it does look like these storms are weakening. You just see the sheer amount of lightning as these moved off of, say, the Long Beach, Gulfport to Biloxi area. As they have moved south, we've seen most of the lightning now start to shift a little bit more toward the Chandeleur. So it does look like the intense storms, the intense part of these storms, are moving away from land, or at least they are weakening as they're approaching more eastern St. Bernard. But we'll be watching to see if some of these storms that are around the Pearlington area, kind of approaching the Slidell area along the Mississippi-Louisiana state line, if these are able to hold together, may see some of these rumbling across Slidell shortly. You can almost see a little weak outflow boundary that pushed across Slidell, and sometimes those outflow boundaries are where we'll see additional thunderstorms pop up. In fact, that's what triggered those storms over the metro area about an hour or so ago. And I'm looking out of our tower camera at the moment. There is still quite a bit of lightning popping up here and there across the area. So even though the rainfall is done with, there are still some lightning strikes here and there. So just be mindful of that. Even though the heaviest of the rain is moving away from the metro area, sometimes these thunderstorms can actually produce lightning far enough or far away from the center of those thunderstorms. And as these thunderstorms are still about now approaching maybe the 10-mile limit away from the city, it's still possible we could see a few lightning strikes nearby. So just be mindful of that as we continue through the next, say, couple of hours or so. But really what I'm going to be watching for, at least as far as the metro area goes, will be these additional thunderstorms that have been developing right around I-10 as you cross into Mississippi from Slidell. Fairly heavy, not as much lightning. It does appear as though that the lightning counter has been decreasing, thankfully, as they start to approach Pearlington and Slidell. But as I also mentioned, there was that one little outflow. You can kind of see it if I highlight it right here. That one little outflow that came off of those thunderstorms that are pushing across Slidell at the moment. Sometimes those will initialize some additional thunderstorms that we may have to watch for some potential development along that boundary over the next, say, 15, 20 minutes or so. As far as the rainfall over the city, we are beginning to see is finally clearing out. Still mostly cloudy skies, and I will say there is an occasional flash of lightning even looking out toward downtown. So still some nearby thunderstorms, and at times you can get a thunderstorm or a lightning strike, I should say, even farther away from the heaviest of the thunder, or the heaviest of the lightning concentration, kind of away from that center. Now, our computer model I'm going to show you here is not initializing perfectly well. In other words, the model itself doesn't have a great idea. Obviously, as you kind of look at our model here starting at 7:30, it's not initializing well at all, but it is at least picking up on some additional thunderstorms that may continue over the next couple of hours and hinting at those storms over Mississippi, perhaps pushing into parts of St. Tammany, and if they're able to hold together, may affect the metro area in the next few hours, maybe after the 10, 11 o'clock hour. Could see some of those thunderstorms kind of hanging on. But at the moment, the computer model not really doing a great job of initializing where those thunderstorms are at the moment. So kind of take that model with a grain of salt. It's at least indicating that there was going to be some development of these thunderstorms through the late evening and early nighttime hours. Obviously did not have a great grasp of, one, the intensity of these storms, and two, exactly where they had lined up. Now, we did earlier north of Gonzales have a flash flood warning, as we did have some thunderstorms that were just sitting over that area for a really brief period, but the rainfall rates were high enough that the National Weather Service did go ahead and issue a flash flood warning. Thankfully, as you can see, most of those storms are moving out. But as I mentioned, as far as our viewing area goes, the intensity of these storms were not nearly as bad. And also, thankfully, they had been moving. But for folks in Jean Lafitte, south of the Almonds, this is some very heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning moving in your direction. And as far as St. Tammany Parish goes, and even eastern St. Bernard, we do have a lot of lightning. If you're looking off in the distance, you're going to see a lot of flashes of lightning from those thunderstorms, which now appear to be more favoring, at least the lightning concentration, are in the Chandeleurs. Heavy rainfall, though, moving over the Biloxi Marsh, as well as now more into, say, southwestern Hancock County and extreme southeastern St. Tammany Parish, that may hold together and likely see some at least passing showers, if nothing else, even if we don't have much of the lightning that is holding together within those thunderstorms moving away from Bay St. Louis toward Pass Christian at the moment. So just wanted to bring you a quick update as to our thunderstorms for the rest of the evening. Can't rule out maybe a stray shower or two as folks are headed home from the Dome, but certainly it was a wetter start to the game than it looks like we're going to have a wetter finish. These showers are going to be wrapping up, and then as we head into the later night and overnight period, dry, and then some scattered showers as we continue through the day tomorrow, with better rain chances on the way by late in the week. For now, thankfully, nothing severe, no flooding issues, just some thunderstorms as we continue to wrap up this evening, and we'll be watching for some additional development for tomorrow. Doesn't look like we're going to see any redevelopment of thunderstorms during the late night and overnight period. Hopefully, we'll see most of these kind of winding themselves and raining themselves out. But this is actually associated with a little disturbance that is moving through, which is why we're getting these thunderstorms to develop at all once we've already lost that daytime heating. And as I was mentioning in earlier newscasts, it was almost too little too late with these thunderstorms, as we had already gotten into the mid and upper 90s, but thankfully a few cooling showers have been able to roll through the area. And again, it doesn't appear as though these are going to be a real risk of anything severe as we continue through the next several hours. Most of the storms that really what I'm keeping an eye on would be the ones moving away from Bay St. Louis into St. Tammany Parish now, and even these don't appear to be anything particularly heavy. A couple of rumbles of thunder, certainly. Some brief periods of heavy rainfall moving through, yes, but it looks like the worst of those storms are now clearing out. We'll cut in if we need to, update you here on social media, but otherwise we'll have a complete look at all the rainfall and what is ahead over the next several days on Eyewitness News at 10.